I'm now going to show you how to create a design from Clipart in Pattern Maker. I have Pattern Maker software open on the screen, and you can see there's no pattern visible. So we need to create a new pattern to bring our Clipart or our Clipart patterns into. I can click on the icons on the toolbar, or I can go into the File menu to New. And this brings up the size, so I can pick the stitch size. I can choose the size of the design. If you want it to fit in a hoop, you could choose a hoop size here. I'm just using an arbitrary number that'll give me enough room for this particular design. And I say OK. Now, when it creates me a new pattern, it comes in with a bunch of default colors. So I want to get rid of those because I don't need them. Because when the patterns come in from the Clipart collection, they have their own colors associated with them. So I'm simply going to right click on any color in my palette and I'm going to delete all of them. And now I have an empty pattern with no colors. So to access the files in the library folder, go to the library, copy from library. It opens the database. And now I have a way of finding any design by picture. I can look at all of the pictures of all of the designs in the whole library. I can look by theme. So if I go in here to say flowers, this brings up all of the flowers that are available in the software. If I want to see bigger pictures, so I have a better chance of seeing what I'm actually doing here, then I can choose to make the pictures to show 2 by 2 to make the pictures a little bit bigger and easier to see. Alright, so let's pick this one. Let's read this pink rose. It's spring. So this tells me the name of the pattern, what library it's in, who made the design, Cooler Design Studios, and how big it is in stitches. Once I've selected it, I click copy. It comes in floating. It has all of its colors with it. So because it's selected, you see little check marks down here in all of the colors. So that's fine. I'm going to leave it right where it is. But now we have all of this extra grid space. So I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to go into the fabric menu to size. And down here where it says reduce to the currently used fabric area, it takes away all of that extra grid, and now all I'm going to have in there is just the design, and say OK. So now we're ready almost to export this to a machine format. But the first thing we want to do is we want to save the Pattern Maker file, because right now it's called Pattern 1. So I'm going to go into the File menu to Save As, and I'm just going to put it on my desktop, and instead of Pattern 1, I'm going to call it Pink Rose, and click Save. Now we're ready to export this to a machine format. To do that, we go into the Machine Embroidery menu, Export using the wizard, click Next, choose your format. You see they're all in there. My machine uses a PES format, so you choose your format. If you always want it to export in your format, you simply click Use for New Patterns, and that now becomes your default. Click Next. This tells me where the design is going to go. It's going to go where the pattern is normally. So that's fine. I'm going to leave it there. If you don't want it to go there, or you want to export it to a disk or a thumb drive, that's fine. You can do that here. Click Next. This is where you choose your hoop size. You will notice you have both horizontal and vertical hoops available for use. Sometimes in a big design you can use less hoopings in a horizontal hoop than you can in a vertical one. This particular design will fit in any of the hoops, but if I chose a hoop that the design did not fit in, it would tell me here how many times I was going to have to rehoop the design. And I would have the ability to choose what color I want for my basting alignment stitches. for multi-hooping. Click Next. This screen deals with density in the design. The only thing that we're worried about right here is 2 strands. This means that if I stitch this at default settings, the first time you export a design, this is going to be set to 2. That means it's going to stitch one side of the X with one thread and one side of the X with the other thread, or 2 threads. And that's probably in 14, 16, or 18 count not going to be thick enough. We want it to look like it was stitched with 2 strands. So we want to increase that to 4, which means it's going to stitch each side of the X twice. And then we're going to click Use for New Patterns. And that will increase the density in the design. We click Next. This is where you put in any limitations you have for your machine in colors or in stitches. If you have a certain number of stitches you can write to your embroidery card, this is where you would put it in. If the pattern had more than those number of stitches, it would split it into a hoop 1A or A and a hoop B that one would stitch right on top of the other. And we click Next and we click Finish, and now we've created our embroidery design. Now I'm going to go up here. You have most icons for most of the tools in the software, so I'm going to click on that little waffle looking like thing, and that'll turn the grid off. And under the machine embroidery menu, you have some things available. We can show our hoop boundary. You also see you have that tool on your toolbar as well. This just tells me that this particular design is a single hoop design. It doesn't mean it'll fill the whole hoop. You also have an exporting result. This is what I print out and take to my machine and use when I stitch out the design. The design will stitch out in the order that you put the colors into the program. The way it stitches is it stitches whole stitches first, it stitches outlines second, and it stitches French knots last. This particular design has 6,386 stitches and 12 colors. And this tells you what the color order is, and it tells you how many stitches per color there are in the design. So I simply print this out and I take this to my machine with the design file. And that's how easy it is to create a design from Clipart using Pattern Maker.